sixth form I set up a student magazine, and then at university I joined the university magazine and the university radio, and I was the arts editor for that by my second year. And in my second year I also took a 6-month break to the University of Aarhus in Denmark, and I helped set up an English language magazine there as well. So that's sort of my editorial experience, and that was mostly working in music journalism, and I did a few pieces for a couple of nationals like Barfly and things like that, and I worked for a couple of websites. And then when I graduated, I took an NCTJ short course with the Daily Echo for 6 months, and that got me my diploma and made me a certified reporter. And then I was out of work for a long time because it's hard to come by jobs. And then I took a work experience here at LiSTED magazine, and the publisher and editor Ali Wood went on maternity leave and made me acting editor. University was actually a big setback, actually. I think because I wasn't doing a journalism course, I was doing an academic English course, so the type of language they want you to use is completely different. It's got to be long-winded and very highfalutin, whereas you quickly learn, once I got into my NCTJ course, that you've got to keep it as direct and as to the point as possible. So that I think my tutor actually spent about 2 months purely trying to get me to speak normally and write normally, rather than using complicated ways of speaking. The side projects I did, working in music reviews and just working for other magazines, that was probably the most useful thing I could do. The best thing that came away from my NCTG course, apart from getting me to talk normally, was probably the legal side of things, which I had no grasp of beforehand. Well, this is the one of the difficult sort of shadowy parts of the free magazine industry, is that it is all purely based on advertisers, and that quite dramatically affects some of the things you write. It's something that I disagree with, but it is the general approach of the magazine, that everything is always upbeat, that it's always a positive spin. And 9/10 of the time that's okay, because we're only ever talking about new art displays or food reviews and things. But there's a certain element of advertisers paying directly for content, and I don't think we make it explicit enough to our readers sometimes that this is an advertising feature in particular, rather than... The advertising features aren't so bad, because even though it doesn't say advertising feature, 9 times out of 10 you can read it and assume, oh, someone probably paid for this to be there. But it's the subtle things, like when we give restaurant guides, we generally tend to pick restaurants that advertise with us over restaurants that don't necessarily do. And I'm slightly uncomfortable with that. And so we do try and refrain from doing it whenever possible. But I think subconsciously you do censor yourself for your advertisers. I've got to say, a lot of it's quite remote. When I was in university magazines, I used to travel, because it wasn't running on a budget. We were always working at a loss, and it was all out of my own pocket. I travelled up and down the country, meeting all sorts of interesting artists and stuff. A lot more of it here is because you're running the interviews ahead of time to make them relevant, because we work a month in advance. So many of the interviews are just over the phone, so I think I'm meeting less interesting people. But at the same time, you meet a lot of interesting business contacts and stuff, which, as an editor, is kind of essential. I'm quite pro the blogging era. It's quite exciting, but at the same time, with all online press, you've got 2 big problems. One is that, how do you make profit out of it? I always want to keep a blog myself, because as much as I'm the sort of music and lifestyle editor here, my real interest is politics. And that's the sort of thing I studied I wanted to be a news reporter a lot more. And this is just what I'm doing right now. And so I do always think, oh, I should keep a blog really to sort of just boost my portfolio. But it's difficult to find the motivation because I don't deny it, I'm a hack. I like to be paid to write. And finding time of day to do it otherwise is difficult. The other real risk is something that you're probably doing at the uni at the moment is defamation. Defamation law is really stringent in this country anyway, but particularly online, the rules are twice as harsh because of some ridiculous rule from like 1906 that said, I can't remember the complexities exactly, but it's something along the lines of if you put it online, it constitutes every time someone clicks on it, it being republished. And so you can be sued individually for almost every click on that website, and that's how you bankrupt yourself. We were running a story for our own website the other week. It'd gone in the magazine no problem. It'd been about the Isle of Wight Cows Festival for the yachts. And we made some sort of remark that, oh, it's great that they're recovering. They found a new sponsor, whereas 2 years ago they nearly went bust because they had no money. And we had all quotes and everything, so all the evidence was there to prove it. But in the end, it was again self-censorship. I didn't dare put the complete story online for fear that if I had made some mistake and there was the risk of defamation there, who knows how that was going to turn out for the magazine. We do have other editors as well who are all voluntary, and they all just do it because they're either students at the Bournemouth University or Southampton University that have a passion for it, or it's people with a specialist interest. Like we have a real our motoring editor runs some sort of car club, and that's there. He loves the subject, and so he writes about that all the time. And then our health and beauty editor runs a salon of her own, and so she's got a certain expert knowledge as well.